You know, we tend to think of winners and losers as, well, two totally different breeds of people. But what if I told you the story of a top CEO who got obsessed with cheap cookies right before his company lost 24 billion pounds? And then, the story of a woman who came from a housing project to run a Fortune 500 company. Yeah, these two stories pretty much turn everything we think we know about winning on its head.
So let's start here, in this ridiculously fancy corporate headquarters. The man in charge? Sir Fred Goodwin, CEO of what was then the world's biggest company by assets, the Royal Bank of Scotland. Now, this guy was known for being a stickler for details, so much so that he apparently threatened to fire people over a shocking mistake, serving cheap, pink wafer biscuits in the executive boardroom. I'm not kidding.
Okay, so not long after this whole pink wafergate thing, Goodwin's bank posts a mind-blowing £24 billion loss and basically gets taken over by the UK government. While he was sweating the small stuff like biscuits and wallpaper, the whole empire just crumbled. Now flip that coin and look at Ursula Burns. Raised by a single mom in a New York City housing project. But through sheer grit, she climbed the ladder at Xerox to become the first black woman to ever lead a Fortune 500 company.
So you've got one guy seemingly on top of the world who gets so laser-focused on trivial things that he misses the giant iceberg right in front of him. And then you have a woman who starts with absolutely nothing and achieves something incredible. It all just begs the question, what really separates a winner from a loser? Is it just being born a genius? Dumb luck? Or is there something else going on entirely?
All right, let's start unpacking this with what I'm calling the winner's paradox. And we're going to tackle myth number 1 head-on. Are winners just born that way?
If anyone should have been born a winner, you'd think it would be Pablo Picasso, right? Son of the legendary artist Pablo Picasso. You'd imagine he was destined for greatness from the get-go. But Pablo's life was the complete opposite. He was a drifter, he drank way too much, and he could never, ever escape his father's gigantic shadow. He ended up just working for him as a part-time driver, living in this constant state of dependence and, frankly, humiliation.
And this quote, which his own daughter says Pablo yelled at him, I mean, it's just brutal. Can you even imagine hearing that from your own father, the man the entire world worships as a genius? For Pablo, being born to win wasn't a gift, it was a curse, a crushing weight that defined his entire miserable life. And look, this isn't just one sad story about a famous family. It's a pattern. Multiple psychological studies have found something pretty shocking. Kids in wealthy, high-achieving suburbs can actually report higher levels of anxiety, depression, and drug use than kids in poorer inner-city neighborhoods. The pressure to measure up to a parent's success can be just incredibly damaging.
So, if being born into it isn't the key, then what is? Well, the answer seems to lie in the incredible work of psychologist Carol Dweck. She found that people basically have one of two core beliefs about their own abilities. The first is what she calls a fixed mindset, this idea that your intelligence is what it is, you're born with it, and you can't change it. The second is a growth mindset, the belief that you can get smarter and better through effort and practice.
And this one little difference in mindset, it changes absolutely everything. If you've got a fixed mindset, failing feels like a final verdict. It means I'm not smart enough. So you just stick to what you're good at to avoid looking bad. But if you have a growth mindset, failure is just data. It's a chance to learn something. And that is the key to resilience. Thinking you're a born genius is actually a trap. Believing you can grow is the real launching pad.
Okay, so if winners aren't born, maybe they're just lucky? This brings us to part 2, the science of momentum. And myth number 2, is it all just a roll of the dice?
To figure this out, we've got to go to Lake Tanganyika in Africa and meet a fish called the cichlid. Now, there are two kinds of males. There's the NT fish. He's kind of drab, submissive, can't reproduce. Then there's the T fish. He's brightly colored, aggressive, the dominant male. You'd think they were different species. They're not. Here's the crazy part. In just a few hours, a loser, NT fish, can physically transform into a winner T fish. His body and brain literally change. He becomes a winner.
This amazing transformation is a perfect example of something called the winner effect. And it's pretty simple. The act of winning a fight physically changes an animal's brain, which then makes it more likely to win the next fight. Winning actually creates its own momentum. And hey, this isn't just for fish. It happens in us too, thanks to hormones like testosterone. There was this famous study during the 1994 World Cup final. After Brazil won, their fans' testosterone levels shot up by almost 30%. And the Italian fans, theirs dropped by about the same amount. Just watching your team win literally changes your body chemistry.
So you see how this creates this powerful, repeating cycle? You get a small win.
That triggers a testosterone boost. Your brain then literally rewires itself to be more sensitive to that hormone. That, in turn, makes you more confident, which helps you win the next time. Success actually breeds success, right down to the biological level. It's wild.
So, we've busted two big myths. Winning isn't about being born a genius, it's about having a growth mindset. And it's not just pure luck, it's about building real biological momentum through the winner effect. But this is where it all comes together and where we get a serious warning. Because the power that comes from all that winning, it can be incredibly dangerous.
Okay, so the winner effect rewires your brain to help you win more. That sounds awesome, right? But what are the side effects? What else does all that power that comes with winning actually do to your mind?
Well, research shows that power fundamentally changes how we think. It gives us this dangerous illusion of control, making us think we can influence totally random things. It makes us more self-centered, less able to see things from other people's points of view. And here's the kicker. It narrows our attention. It makes us hyper-focused on a goal, but it blinds us to huge risks in our peripheral vision. Sound familiar? Remember Sir Fred Goodwin, the pink wafer guy? Obsessing over biscuits while his bank was sinking? That's the blinding effect of power in action.
And this just proves that power, by itself, is not the answer. If you're just handed power without earning it through that process of mindset and momentum, it usually backfires. One study of thousands of companies found that when a family business was handed down to a family member, profitability dropped by at least 4%. Power without the psychology of winning is just an empty suit.
This brings us to this really powerful idea for why the kids of successful people so often struggle. It's because their parents sometimes hide the ladder. You know, in their own success, they forget the struggle, the lucky breaks, the late nights, the 1,000 little steps up a really shaky ladder that got them there. And instead, they make their success look like some kind of magic trick, like they were just born with it.
So, when you get right down to it, winning isn't magic. It's a process. It's climbing that shaky ladder. The rungs are built with a growth mindset. You get the momentum to climb from the winner effect. And the whole time, you have to be self-aware enough to know that the power you gain can make you forget there was ever a ladder at all. Which leaves us with one last thing to think about. Winning isn't some final destination. It's the ladder you're building, one rung at a time. So let me ask you, what are the rungs on your ladder? And maybe more importantly, are you showing them to the people you want to inspire, or are you hiding them?